Florida is one of the best places in America to own a boat. Warm weather, endless anchorages, the Keys, the Gulf Coast, the ICW, and a year-round cruising season. But the same water that makes Florida a boating paradise is also full of boats that have reached the end of their story. Half-sunk sailboats, hurricane-damaged cruisers, project boats that never got finished, free boats that were not free at all. And now Florida's changing the way it deals with them. This is Practical Sailor, and today we're looking at derelict boats in Florida. Not because abandoned boats make dramatic pictures, although they do, and not because this is only a Florida problem, because it's not. We're looking at this because Florida has become one of the clearest examples of a bigger issue facing boat owners everywhere. What happens when a boat reaches the end of its usable life? For years, old fiberglass boats have had a strange kind of afterlife. They get sold cheap, then cheaper, and then almost free, then actually free. They move from one optimistic owner to the next, each one believing they're buying a cruising dream for pennies on the dollar. But eventually, somebody becomes the last owner. The engine stops working, the rig is suspect, the hatches leak, the bilge pump quits, the anchor rod breaks, the registration expires, and at some point, the boat stops being a project and starts becoming a public problem. Florida has a formal way of looking at that problem. A boat can be considered derelict when it's wrecked, junked, substantially dismantled, aground or sinking, beached where it shouldn't be, or otherwise left in a condition where it becomes a hazard. But Florida also has another category that matters just as much: vessels that are at risk of becoming derelict. That at-risk category is where Practical Sailor readers should really pay attention, because it's basically a maintenance checklist written in legal language. A boat can be considered at risk if it's taking on water and doesn't have an effective means of dewatering. In plain English, if the boat's leaking and the pumps are not keeping up, the clock may already be running. It can be at risk if spaces that are supposed to be sealed are open to the weather for extended periods of time. That means a missing hatch, broken companionway boards, open ports, smashed windows, the deck openings that let rainwater turn a boat into a bathtub with a mast. It can be at risk if it is broken loose from its anchor, or if it's in danger of breaking loose from an anchor. It can be at risk if it's listing because of water intrusion. It can be at risk if it doesn't have an effective means of propulsion. It can even be at risk if it's tied to an unlawful, unpermitted mooring. In other words, Florida's not just waiting until a boat is lying on its side in the mangroves. The state is trying to identify boats before they become wreckage. And the scale is not small. Florida Fish and Wildlife reported that in 2025, 475 derelict vessels were removed statewide. By the end of that year, the state said there were 367 derelict vessels recorded on Florida's waterways, the lowest number since its derelict vessel tracking database was established. Since the vessel turn-in program began in 2023, more than 220 at-risk vessels have been proactively removed before they became derelict. The last number is important. The cheaper time to remove the bad boat is before it sinks. Once a boat's underwater, everything gets harder. It can damage seagrass, it can block navigation, it can leak fuel or oil or sewage or batteries or debris. It can become a hazard to the other boats going by. It can end up on private property too. It can break apart in a storm and turn into thousands of small problems. And then somebody has to pay to remove all of it. Often, that somebody's the taxpayer. This is why Florida's been tightening the laws. In 2025, the state moved to strengthen vessel accountability too. A valid title can now be used as presumed evidence of ownership. And that matters because one of the oldest tricks in the book in boat ownership is just trading boats without actually changing any paperwork. The boat gets sold sort of casually and the paperwork's sloppy, the new owner never transfers the title, and when the boat becomes a wreck, everyone points at someone else. Florida's trying to close that loop. The law also gives officers stronger tools around propulsion. If an officer has reason to believe a vessel does not have effective propulsion, the owner may have to demonstrate it. If the owner is present, the evaluation can happen right away on the spot. If not, the owner might have a short window to show that the boat can move safely under her own power, or provide proof that repairs and parts and everything have been ordered. Again, it's not just a legal issue. This is a boat ownership issue at its most basic. A boat that can't move, can't pump itself out, can't keep the weather out, and can't stay anchored is no longer simply waiting for repairs. It may be on the edge of becoming someone else's emergency. Florida also created a public nuisance pathway. If the owner receives 3 citations for at-risk condition within a 24-month period, the boat can be declared a public nuisance and removed in a similar way to a derelict vessel. That matters for cruisers because Florida is also tightening the rules around long-term anchoring, as we know. As of 2026, vessels anchored in Florida waters for 14 days or more within a 30-day period are required to obtain a no-cost electronic long-term anchoring permit from FWC. 3 or more violations in 24 months can lead to the vessel being removed and disposed of under public nuisance laws. For the responsible cruiser, that's not necessarily the end of anchoring in Florida, but it does mean the old casual approach is changing. If you're going to stay in one place for a while, you need to know the rules. Keep the boat registered, keep it capable of moving, keep it safe, and make sure it doesn't look like it's been forgotten. And this is where the free boat fantasy gets a little dangerous. Every sailor knows that listing. A tired old boat, maybe 32, maybe 38 feet, maybe with a good name and a tragic backstory. The ad says, just needs TLC, or bring batteries and you can sail it away, or free to the right person. And sometimes, yeah, there's some real bargains out there. There are good boats with overwhelmed owners. Happens every day. There are estate sales where the kids don't know what they have. There's storm damaged boats that can be repaired by the right person with the right skills. But there's also a point where a free boat is just a disposal bill wearing a mast. Before anyone takes on a Florida project boat, the first question should not be, could it be saved? The first question should be, can I legally own it and move it and insure it and store it and repair it and dispose of it if I'm wrong? That means it has a proper title, not a handshake, not a napkin, not my buddy said it was abandoned and you can take it. Florida says buying or selling a titled vessel requires proper transfer of title, and sellers and buyers have deadlines for notifying the state and transferring the ownership. It also means understanding that you can't simply take an abandoned boat because it looks forgotten. In Florida, the first step is reporting the suspected abandoned vessel to law enforcement. Then there's an investigation process. That can take weeks or months. There are costs involved, and FWC is very clear that helping yourself to an abandoned vessel without a title is probably a crime. And here's the part that kills the treasure hunter fantasy. Derelict vessels are not generally the boats you get to claim and restore. Once a boat has crossed into derelict territory, the state's interest is removal, not matchmaking. So what should you do if you own a tired boat? The best answer is to act before it becomes derelict. If the boat's still usable, sell it properly and transfer the title. Document the sale. Make sure the new owner actually becomes the new owner. Don't create a ghost boat that legally follows you around like a bad smell in the bilge. If the boat's repairable, repairing the things that keep it from entering the at-risk category is a good idea. Keep water out, keep the bilge pump working, keep the batteries charged, keep the anchor system sound, keep registration current, keep propulsion functional. If a storm's coming, have a plan. That's better than hoping that it won't break loose. If the boat's no longer worth saving, face that directly. Don't wait. FWC says owners should recognize that vessels have an end of life. Having a boat transported to an approved landfill costs much less than removing a submerged vessel. It's also better for the environment, better for other boaters, and much better for the owner's legal position. And if the boat has already received an at-risk warning or citation, Florida's vessel turn-in program may be the cleanest exit. The program allows eligible owners to voluntarily surrender unwanted at-risk vessels to FWC. The boat is removed, destroyed, and disposed of at no cost to the owner as long as the boat qualifies and funding is available. It's not glamorous. Nobody buys a boat dreaming of the day it goes into the crusher, but responsible boat ownership includes the final chapter. For cruisers, the message is simple. Florida is still one of the best cruising grounds around, but it's no longer a place where a boat can sit forever at anchor, slowly deteriorating while everyone pretends it's still a dream in progress. For buyers, the lesson is even sharper. The cheapest boat on the market may be cheap because it's already halfway into the legal system. Before you buy it, look at the paperwork, the hull, the rig, the engine, the pumps, the ground tackle, the registration, the storage situation, and the cost of walking away. Because with boats, free is often just a word people use before the invoice shows up. Derelict boats are not just abandoned property, they're failed maintenance plan, failed storm plans, failed sales, failed ownership transfers, failed exits. And for the rest of us, they're a reminder that every boat needs 3 plans: a plan to use it, a plan to maintain it, and a plan to eventually let it go. And speaking of boat ownership, did you see this article called Do It Yourself Fuel Tank Cleaning? This is awesome. When clogged filters become a recurring problem, no additive can save you. Here's how to safely clean your diesel fuel tank yourself. This is a great read if you have a few minutes. I loved it. I'll leave a link in the description for you. While you're here, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out, but also it lets YouTube know that you like sailing videos, so it'll show you more of them. How cool is that? And hit subscribe so I can see you again next time.